On the 14th of November, Impact's head of news, SU staff and myself joined the Holocaust Educational Trust on a trip to Auschwitz-Birkenau. This trip was part of a programme designed to educate us on the devastating effects of the Holocaust, its lasting impact particularly on the Jewish community, and how we can work to ensure anti-Semitism does not occur on our campus. Whilst I was invited to represent Nottingham Students Television, I felt that it was more important to take in the atmosphere and the events of the day, as opposed to filming the camps. I really recommend that you visit Auschwitz if you can, as it is important to feel the effects on a more personal level than just reading statistics. It has been over 70 years since the liberation of Auschwitz-Birkenau and other Nazi camps. During the Holocaust, 6 million are believed to have been murdered, though this number could be higher. It is important that we do not forget those who were persecuted, and that, as the number of living survivors dwindles, we continue telling their stories. As part of our seminars, we heard from Eva Clark, a survivor of the Holocaust, along with her mother. Her family was sent to concentration camps and she was born days before liberation, on the train just before reaching Auschwitz. Hearing from Eva really solidified how recent these horrifying events took place, even though we often place them in distant history. Visiting Auschwitz and Birkenau, we were wrapped up in coats, scarves and gloves, yet the cold was still chilling. We couldn't even imagine how it would have felt wearing the thin striped uniform of the prisoners in the depths of Polish winter. With barely any food and basic hygiene, the prisoners were kept in their hundreds in barracks built originally for just 51 horses. We held a vigil led by the Union of Jewish Students, heard a testimony from Faye describing her own grandfather's survival story, and lit candles in remembrance of those who did not survive. After the trip, we attended a final seminar to discuss how we were going to take what we had learned and how to bring those lessons to our campus. Sadly, we did not get to visit the town of Oswiecim due to a delay in our flight. This part of the trip would have been just as important as visiting the camps, and we discussed in our seminar as to why. It is important to remember the individuals and their unique experiences behind the statistic as to rehumanise the figure. For some, including myself, one exhibition in Auschwitz I stood out. It was a room which had projections of Jewish life before the Holocaust and included personal videos. One which stood out to me was a video of a Jewish couple kissing and laughing. It is difficult to not view the gates of Auschwitz II as an image of the Holocaust, but this is flawed in itself as it does not remind us of the human suffering and the loss of such a vibrant lifestyle.
Elie Wiesel was born in Romania. He was deported to Auschwitz, where his parents and sister were murdered. Since the war, he had written numerous books reflecting on his experience. The cherished objects we had brought with us this far were left behind in the train, and with them, at last, our illusions. Every 2 yards or so, an SS man held his Tommy gun trained on us. Hand in hand, we followed the crowd. An SS non-commissioned officer came to meet us. He gave the order, men to the left, women to the right. 8 words spoke quietly, indifferently, without emotion. 8 short, simple words. Yet that was the moment when I parted from my mother. I had not had time to think, but already I felt the pressure of my father's hand. We were alone. For a part of a second, I glimpsed my mother and my sisters were moving to the right. I saw them disappear into the distance. My mother was stroking my sister's fair hair, as though to protect her, whilst I was walking on with my father and other men. And I did not know that in that place, at that moment, I was parting from my mother forever. I went on walking. My father held on to my hand. The SS officer gave the order. Form 5s. Commotion. At all costs we must keep together. Hey, kid, how old are you? It was one of the prisoners who asked me this. I could not see his face, but his voice was tense and weary. I'm not quite 15 yet. No, 18. But I'm not, I said. I'm 15. Fool, listen to what I say. So this was where we were going. A little farther on was another and larger ditch for adults. I pinched my face. Was I still alive? Was I awake? I could not believe it. How could it be possible for them to burn people, children, and for the whole world to keep silent? Never shall I forget that night, the first in the camp which had turned my life into one long night, 7 times cursed and 7 times sealed. Never shall I forget that smirk. Never shall I forget the little faces of the children, whose bodies I saw turn into wreaths of smoke beneath a blue sky. Never shall I forget those flames which consumed my faith forever. Never shall I forget that nocturnal silence which deprived me for all eternity of the desire to live. Never shall I forget those moments which murdered my God and my soul and turned my dreams to dust. Never shall I forget these things, even if I am condemned to live as long as God himself. Never.
To help prevent anti-Semitism on campus, it is important to know how you can help. The Holocaust is not the only act of anti-Semitism, and the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition is how the British Jewish community define what anti-Semitism is, especially in a modern context. Anti-Semitism is a certain perception of Jews, which may be expressed as hatred towards Jews. Rhetorical and physical manifestations of anti-Semitism are directed towards Jewish or non-Jewish individuals and/or their property, towards Jewish community institutions and religious facilities. The University of Nottingham has adopted this definition, which is definitely a step forward. If you do see anti-Semitism on campus, it is important to report these events so they can be logged and monitored. You can do this through the Community Security Trust, which we will link in the description below. If you would like to learn more about how to support the Jewish community, visit the Union of Jewish Students website, or even just contact your university's Jewish Society and ask how best you can support them. I would like to thank UJS and the Holocaust Educational Trust for organising this trip and allowing NSTV to join and to create this video.